Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C. Now, changing gears, we want to continue our coverage that we've been doing in the last several weeks on the very important, I think, world-changing visit, the North American tour of Sister Agnes Mariam of the Cross from that monastery of St. James in Kara, Syria. And people will remember I got to know Sister Agnes Mariam about 2 years ago, November 2011, when she hosted an international delegation, including Thierry Masson of France and myself and others from Italy, Belgium, many other countries, to come there and see the truth of what was going on. And she gave us the proper orientation to understand the truth of these matters. So Sister Agnes Mariam is now in the United States, and we wanted to get the first of what I hope will be weekly reports from Paul LaRudie of the Syria Solidarity Movement. This is where you can follow what Sister Agnes Mariam is doing. It's Syria Solidarity Movement on the Internet. There's a calendar there. Got to look a little bit to find it, but be persistent. You're going to see that it's there, where she's going to be, and what days. So I want to welcome Paul LaRudie and ask him, can you bring us up to speed on what this tour is like? I believe she's been on the road in the U.S. for about a week now. Please tell us everything.
Yes, that's right, Webster. Thanks for inviting me on your show, and I'd be very happy to provide weekly updates on what's happening. I guess some of what's happened is expected and some isn't. We're trying to provide reports as much as we can get them from the venues about what has happened. But I can tell you that the first 2 days, she was at the Tear Down the Walls conference in Tucson, Arizona, where she addressed the entire assembly of more than 1,000 persons, I think. Mm-hmm. On the first night, they invited her to be one of the keynote speakers. And partly as a result of that, I guess, her workshop was attended by more than 400 people. And they were very enthusiastic about it. It was really an amazing event and reception for her. Now, admittedly, there were a couple of, maybe half a dozen people from the Syrian American Council, which were opposed to having her speak in North America or, frankly, anywhere else. And on their website, they have put together a script and a petition, and the script is to be used by anyone who wants to help them shut down Mother Agnes Mariam. You call the venue and you make libelous and false statements about her and how terrible it is that this venue is hosting her, and in other words, you intimidate. This is the idea. Get as many people as possible to call and intimidate the venue and shut it down. So there were about half a dozen of them there, but I have to say that the rest of the people there did not respond well to that. And if anything, the rest of the people shut them down rather than responding by shutting down.
Let me ask you now, the Syrian American Council, I suppose that's the Free Syrian Army and people like this. What I would wonder is there an element of, you say intimidation by these would-be censors, right, and dictators of public information and opinion. How far do they seem ready to go, right? Because we've seen what they do in Syria, right? They stop at nothing, right? Are they threatening violence in the United States?
There may be one or two people. We actually had, I would say probably only one person in the Bay Area who actually threatened violence and then later he more or less apologized. He didn't actually commit any violence, as far as I know. I have to say that we have tried to control the situation at the events a little bit, just be a little security conscious and keep the format with, for example, written questions, so that we don't allow someone up to make a monologue that dominates the event and this kind of thing. And that's worked quite well so far. And some of the events have had nobody of that from the Syrian American Council. But they almost invariably have made phone calls to the venues, almost every single one. And they can go right to our website, as can you and your listeners, to find that information there. And thank you for suggesting that they go there. And these are open events. We welcome them, no matter how skeptical they are, at these events to hear Mother Agnes and hopefully to give her talk a fair chance and to answer some of their questions and respond to their concerns and criticism and all that sort of thing. But so far, I can't say that they have actually exercised violent options, and I'm certainly hopeful that will remain the case.
All right, but we just want to remember, who we're dealing with, right? What they do over there, they want to do it someplace else. All right, so far we've had the Tear Down the Walls event in Tucson, Arizona. Has she gone on? Where is she now? And what does next week look like?
Yes, she's just actually finishing up in San Francisco, and it was a wonderful tour here in San Francisco. We had a total of, I think, 6 events and an equal number of in studio or on the phone interviews, and so it's been quite productive. In the first event that she did in San Francisco, there were about 300 people attending. Most of the events have had larger numbers than were expected. I mean, 100 people at a retirement community. That's the one largest attendances that they've had in memory there, and so it's really good to see this. And I would say that last night was, relatively speaking, the most hostile audience that she's had yet. Lots of her critics came last night, but it was done very respectfully in the end.
And where was this located? Was this an institution, a campus?
It was at the Oakland Peace Center, which is on the grounds of the First Christian Church in Oakland. The pastor got one of those people calling in saying that he should shut it down, and this is a pastor in the middle of Oakland who's accustomed to this kind of thing, and he just basically said, "I don't have any time for this." That's it. So
I don't know if you can trace this back, but one of the problems, of course, is that we have these so-called leftists. We have broadcasters. We have all kinds of people who claim to be, anti-war, and they're interested in human rights, and they somehow manage then to get into total hostility to the existing government in Syria and embrace these extremist groups that obviously are not interested in democracy, but they somehow they bring out this hostility. You got to stay with us. I hope we've got a break of about 4 minutes for some commercials, and then we'll be back in a second. Can you stay?
Sounds good. I'll be around.
Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. It's our post-election broadcast, Friday the 8th of November. I'm inviting everybody, go to C-SPAN, take a look at my lecture on the Russian fleets of 1863, and maybe we'll get that broadcast on C-SPAN 3 one of these weekends to counteract the clouds of error that have been spread by some brand X historians. But now we're going directly into the thick of the Syrian issue. We're very happy to continue to be joined by Paul Larudi of the Syria Solidarity Movement. That's a website you can find. The sponsors, the organizers, in a general sense, of the North American tour of Sister Agnes Mariam of the Cross. Right, she is she's the head of the certainly it's a Melkite Catholic monastery convent in Kara, Syria, about halfway between Damascus and Homs. I know her, very fine person, true humanitarian, wants peace, reconciliation, and an end to this horrible civil war. So, Paul Larudi, you're telling us now this was last night. It was the Oakland Peace Center. Where does it go from here, and how can people get ready in the various places in the next week or 10 days?
She will be flying to Southern California tomorrow, and there are events tomorrow and Sunday in Southern California. She's going to be staying on in Southern California for an additional 2 days for private meetings, and then she's flying on the, on the 13th, she's flying to Cleveland, and they have a very full schedule, apparently, for her in Cleveland on the 14th and 15th, and there should be a lot of publicity because the news media are really turning out for it. Then on the 16th, she flies to Denver, and they have an event that evening. The Northwood Presbyterian Church, I think it is. Anyway, you can see it. You can find it at the calendar online. And the following day, there's another event, and also, I believe, an interview. I think it's a television interview. I'm not sure. And then that evening, she flies to Lincoln, Nebraska. That's the 17th. On the 18th, she'll have some events in Lincoln, and on the 19th, she flies to the UK. Well, actually, first to Toronto, and she catches a flight from there to the UK, where she will be until the 30th, including possibly a trip to Rome during that time to meet with a delegation to the Pope.
If you want to go through some of those locations in Britain, we have quite a few listeners over in the UK, so if you want to just tick them off, please do.
Yeah, actually, I don't have that itinerary. It's the UK organizing committee that's doing that. I'd be happy to put you in touch with them. But but anyway, she'll be flying back to Toronto on the 30th of November, and her first event is on December 1st there, and she'll have about 5 days of events in Canada, and then on the 6th and 7th of December, she will be in New York City, and we expect a very full schedule and lots of stuff going on in New York, and probably some large crowds as well. And then she flies into Washington on the 8th. We don't yet have an event on the evening of the 8th, but Monday and Tuesday, we're going to get as many visits as possible to the Hill and possibly other governmental contacts while she's there.
Right. Now, I'm interested in the last part, because I can help you with quite a bit of that, right? And you want to obviously maximize the number of congressional appointments, right? And you got to look in some strange quarters, right? You're going to be surprised the people that are going to be interested, right? Not all, of one stripe or another. But certainly here, if you're going to come to Washington, D.C., you've got to have an event at the National Press Club, and we can certainly work on that. And then we've also got, there is an activist community here. Washington, D.C. is unlike some other places, right? Politics here is a business. People do it for money.
Right.
There are a lot of mercenaries. But there are also people who are concerned with, idealistic humanitarian issues of peace and so forth. So I think I'm in touch with a lot of those. So I hope we can work together, because I think we can fill that part out. And indeed, between New York and Washington, I think national media, network television, big cable television should be highly interested. Right, the State Department obviously is not happy, but they don't rule the world either. So we'll push ahead.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the preceding events, will build to a kind of crescendo at that point, and then she'll have better access, and there'll be demand for her, and so forth. So anyway, but that's her last stop in the U.S., and she'll be leaving on the 11th to go back to Lebanon. I fully expect that it's very likely that there'll be another tour in the new year, perhaps in the spring, because already the demand is outstripping her current schedule.
Good. I would recommend to people, there's an interview of Sister Agnes Mariam with Peter Phillips and Mickey Huff of the Project Censored. You have that on your website, right? Syrian Solidarity Movement. Correct. And there, in about half an hour, you get a summary of the analysis, at least the general outlines of what she has to say. And I think that's something that certainly deserves to be heard. We here have tried very hard to put out her study, right? The detailed refutation of the faked or manipulated videos that were used after August 21st to try to start a general war, and thank goodness that fell through. But in the time we have left, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the Syrian Solidarity Network and how you came to this?
Last night, one of the skeptics, one of the questions was about how where our income is coming from for the trip. And I should say that this is entirely a grassroots operation. The money came by asking every event to chip in to the overseas costs and the shared costs, and then to fully fund the local costs, including the airfare to the city where they're flying. So this was entirely funded locally, and typically they weren't even out of pocket on it because they're getting reimbursed by passing the hat at the events themselves, and it covers it. So anyway, to dispel that. Now, about where this started was with conferences and things that happened last year that got us in touch with Syrian nonviolent groups and so forth, and a delegation was created to go to Syria last August. Then, and I was asked to invite Maria McGuire, and I did. She turned us down at that time, but that was because she was already working on another delegation with Mother Agnes Mariam, and she was putting together this delegation, and I was one of the people that was invited to go on it. So it was supposed to take place in February, but we went in May, and out of that came the impetus for this movement and to bring Mother Agnes's message here.
You can just hang on 1 second. The music is our hard break. We'll just get a couple of more minutes in the next segment if you can hang on, and then we'll let you go. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Just a couple of more minutes with Paul Larudi of the Syria Solidarity Movement. They are, generally speaking, coordinating, I guess we can say, the visit by Sister Mother Agnes Mariam de la Croix from the monastery of St. James in Kara, Syria. And she, of course, is one of perhaps the leading world humanitarian Irenic spokespersons looking for a concord, right? Looking for a policy of political solution through negotiation. It's the Masala movement. Can you tell us a couple of words about that?
Yes. In fact, she does not describe it as political. She describes it as non-political.
Okay.
Because it is on the basis of reconciliation among anybody who's fighting with each other. But it is a Syrian movement, and it rejects the interference of foreign powers or foreigners in general in the process. And you can see on our website for an example of a success in Mu'addamiyya, where they evacuated 7,000 really suffering refugees through a negotiation that she personally made between hardline, you can call them affiliates of Al-Qaeda, some of them, and the Syrian government. And the remarkable thing was that they allowed her to come into their headquarters and talk with them, and it was very cordial. And then on the way out, they escorted them to the place where the army was, and there you had soldiers and these hardcore rebels, conversing together, shaking hands, and the soldiers offering them cigarettes. And so it's this is what she's talking about. She's often accused of being pro-Assad because she's not anti-Assad, and she does go into Assad government, Syrian government offices, and for the purpose that she tries to maintain good relations with everybody. So this is, and she tries to solve problems. Basically, is what it's about. And if this can grow widely enough, she thinks that it could be a solution to the problem.
All right, wonderful. I would just say that if you look on the Internet, you're going to find the wildest, most unbelievable charges against her. One of them, I think, is a guy by the name of Weiss, has come up with a screed where he invents various charges to hurl at Sister Agnes Mariam, and that guy is his track record is that he's a warmonger. He's a neocon. He's concerned with the Israeli security needs, and this is how he expresses it. Let me just ask you one last thing now. Suppose I'm interested, right? This Agnes Mariam is a person of massive moral integrity and really world historical status. I often thought if Joan of Arc were here in our time, would look something like Sister Agnes Mariam, I think. So if they want to help with the financing, if they want to aid your group, can you tell them how to get in touch with you?
The simplest way is to go to the website. The donate page there has information about how to send it by check or to donate directly through the PayPal link that's there. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit, so that all donations are tax exempt. So, and also you can communicate with us through the website. So you're most welcome to do that. And
all right, great. I hope people will do that because this is something that should be essentially everywhere. To counteract, frankly, the very, very distorted picture that we've had through the various media, the State Department, and indeed these left gatekeepers. Right, I have to mention Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! And people like this who have really not told the truth about what's going on in Syria. So let me thank Paul Larudi. Can we get you back next week for an update?
For sure. And once again, that website is SyriaSolidarityMovement.org.
Okay, SyriaSolidarityMovement.org. And we look forward to hearing more next week about all the things going on in Los Angeles, I guess, and
sure,
and related parts. Thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck to you. And please give our best salutations to Sister Agnes Mariam.
Will do. Thank you very much, Webster.
Okay. See you soon then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So there you have it. That is, as I mentioned last week, right? We've got these stories that Saudi Arabia is so unhappy with the fact that Obama did not bomb Syria that Saudi Arabia is now getting set to do their own things. And what will that look like? They're going to give advanced surface-to-air missiles to the death squads, right? To the Nusra al-Qaeda cannibal forces inside Syria. And if they give these advanced surface-to-air missiles, right, man-pads, shoulder-held devices, those can be used to bring down Syrian military aircraft, but also any kind of civilian airliner, be it Lebanese, Israeli, Turkish, Jordanian, you name it. And then when that happens, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be an attempt to blame that once again on Assad. So what we've got to do is recalibrate the outlook of people here in the Western world. So this is the opportunity to inoculate people against various kinds of war provocations that are still coming in. By the way, we don't have time to do justice to this week, but right now, Geneva, of course, very busy in Geneva. The Saudis are freaking out. The Israelis are freaking out. It looks like the Perm 5+1, that is the 5 permanent members, U.S., Britain, Russia, China, and France, +1, Germany, are getting close to some kind of a deal with Iran, and this would slow or freeze or somehow limit the progress of the Iranian enrichment program of uranium, but at the same time would loosen or relax these killer economic sanctions. And this might be then the prelude to a more ample negotiation process. We've got to move the Middle East back from the brink of an all-out war. So Kerry is there, Fabius is there, others are coming in. Netanyahu is freaking. He's on his own. The Saudis are freaking. They assembled the entire cohort of Saudi princes. I guess there must be about 15 or 1,500 of them, 2,000 of them, to tell Kerry that they were not happy. So they're also the Syrian peace talks. We'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.